If I were to tell you, if I were to tell you that one of the most effective ways to recover leg strength, particularly if you have been experiencing feelings of slowness, weakness, or increased fatigue, does not come from the gym or a pill, but rather from your kitchen, what would you imagine? In point of fact, recent studies have demonstrated that a single food, when consumed at the appropriate time and in the appropriate combination, can begin to revitalize neuromuscular performance within just 12 hours. Let's begin with a startling finding that was uncovered in a study that was published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition in the year 2023. By the very following morning, measurable improvements in muscle protein synthesis and mitochondrial activity were observed in persons over the age of 50 who had ingested a particular type of nutrient-rich diet throughout the evening. These are the biological engines that are responsible for energy, recuperation, and strength, particularly in your legs, which are frequently the first to exhibit indications of loss as we get older. In this case, mobility and beauty are not the only considerations. It is about something that is far more fundamental, such as your independence, your self-confidence, and your lasting capacity. When the strength in the legs disappears, everything shifts. Ascending stairs is a more difficult task. When equilibrium is disrupted, the energy level drops. On top of that, many individuals attribute it to the natural process of aging. However, here is the reality. The most important factor in the decrease of muscle mass is not age. Chronic undernourishment at the cellular level, low-grade inflammation, and circadian rhythms that are not aligned properly are the more major reasons. That is to say, it is not your age according to the calendar. Your biology is to blame. It is important to pay attention to what you consume, when you consume it, and how it interacts with your neurological system and muscles. During this episode, we are going to investigate the neurobiology and physiology that lies behind a single food that is easily accessible and has the potential to significantly improve leg function, particularly when it is utilized in a strategic manner. You will acquire knowledge. The food composition that, over the course of an entire night, supercharges neuromuscular repair. In what ways does this diet restore mitochondrial efficiency, which are the energy producers in your muscles? What part does amino acid signaling play in the process of recovering muscle density? Because of the influence that your circadian clock has on how well this diet functions, when to do it for the most possible impact. In addition, a step-by-step procedure that you can begin right away. This is not a hoax. Rather, it is science. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you have the correct tools, your body may recover much more quickly than you might believe. Let's jump right in. Our belief that atrophy was the primary cause of muscle loss with advancing age lasted for several decades. The contraction of muscle fibers as a result of inactivity or a decrease in hormone levels. Neuroscience, on the other hand, is currently painting a different image, one that is significantly more optimistic and significantly more actionable. The following is what the researchers are discovering. You may believe that you have lost a significant amount of muscle, but in reality, it is only disconnected. The findings of the research are as follows. The motor neurons that connect your brain and spinal cord to your muscles, particularly those in your legs, begin to degenerate or lose their efficacy as early as your 40s. This is especially true for some of the muscles in your legs. As a result of this disconnect, electrical signaling volume is decreased. That is to say, the muscles do not receive the command to contract in its whole. They exist, but they are not doing anything. Adults who are experiencing a decline in their leg strength still have the structural potential for muscle activity, according to the findings of a groundbreaking study conducted by the University of Calgary. At issue was the transmission of neuromuscular signals. To put it another way, the muscle was not dead. Rather, it was just doing nothing. And this indicates that it is possible to get it back online. When you rose up from a chair, did you ever have a feeling of unsteadiness for no apparent reason? Do you find that your legs become fatigued more quickly than they used to, even though you have not altered your routine? That's not just the natural process of aging, it's a breakdown in neuronal connectivity. In addition, the good news is that there is a solution to fix it for you. An important part of this is played by the spinal cord. In addition to performing the function of a relay station for movement commands, it is dependent on continual nutrient-driven support in order to keep data integrity intact. When you think of your leg muscles, you should see them as a group of skilled workers, and your nervous system should be the foreman who is giving commands through a megaphone. The performance of the megaphone will suffer if the battery is running low. However, if you are able to recharge the battery, the crew will be able to resume their task soon. One of the quickest ways to accomplish this is to provide the neuromuscular junction, which is the point at which your nerves and muscles connect, with essential nutrients that restore the effectiveness of the signaling process. It only takes a few hours for certain amino acids, B vitamins, and acetylcholine precursors to bring about a significant improvement in this link. The food that we are concentrating on is the source of this information. You will find that this food is not only rich in protein, but it also has the particular nutrients that your nervous system needs in order to regenerate communication. This means that if you consume this food, you are not only nourishing your muscles, but you are also reactivating them. To put this into practice, before you start worrying about gaining more muscle, you should first determine whether or not your neural system is truly making use of the muscle that you already possess. When it comes to leg weakness, signal quality is frequently more important than muscle quantity. In this section, we will go deeper into the amino acid leucine, which is considered to be one of the most critical nutrients for reactivating this system, and how it operates as a molecular on-web for strength. But first, if you find that this new perspective is allowing you to perceive your body in a fresh light, you might want to consider subscribing. This channel is dedicated to transforming scientific knowledge into power, each and every insight that is gained. Once you have finished eating, there is a brief period of time in which your body starts to look for signals. These signals are not limited to calories. They also include molecular cues that instruct it what to do next. And the amino acid leucine is one of the most potent signals that it searches for. One of the important amino acids is called leucine. This indicates that your body is unable to produce it. Therefore, you must obtain it from the consumption of food. But its significance extends far beyond the realm of basic nourishment. In the scientific community, leucine is referred to be an anabolic trigger. It communicates to your cells that it is time for them to expand. The findings of the research are as follows. One of the cellular pathways that is directly activated by leucine is called mTOR, which is an abbreviation for mammalian target of rapamycin. The synthesis of muscle protein is regulated by this route, which functions as a control tower. Think of mTOR as the internal switch that activates your body's capacity to make or repair muscle tissue, while leucine is the finger that flips the switch. mTOR is responsible for this. Even in older adults, researchers revealed that a single meal that was high in leucine may greatly enhance mTOR activity and stimulate muscle protein synthesis. This was demonstrated in a study that was published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2011. In light of the fact that our muscles become more resistant to anabolic signals as we get older, this is really important. However, leucine has the ability to combat this resistance. It is one of the few nutrients that has been demonstrated to have this effect within a few hours. Despite eating a meal that was heavy in protein, have you ever experienced feelings of fatigue or weakness in your legs? The problem might not be the amount of protein, but rather the quality of the leucine and the timing of its consumption. Inadvertently, a significant number of elderly people ingest just enough protein to prevent the breakdown of their muscles, but not enough leucine to stimulate the growth of their muscles. Because of this, the time of your protein consumption and the source of your protein are important considerations. It is a straightforward instrument to use. Make sure that the first major meal of the day is centered around a food source that is high in leucine. Some of the foods that have the highest levels of leucine are animal proteins such as eggs, cattle, poultry, and especially whey protein. In order to activate the mTOR pathway and initiate muscle repair, it is sufficient to consume a mere 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine, which may be obtained by consuming approximately 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein. However, if you are looking for a more expedient method, whey protein isolate is one of the most effective ways to accomplish this. Leucine and the other essential amino acids are present in the optimal proportions in this product. When it comes to fast-restoring muscular function, this is the reason why athletes and clinicians who care with older citizens are increasingly turning to it. However, this is not only about recovering, it is also about reconnecting with people. Because there is more going on in your brain and muscles than just growth after you consume protein that is rich in leucine. Communication is the issue. A biochemical dialogue between your nervous system and your muscle fibers is being restored as a result of your active participation. Furthermore, the quicker that discussion picks up again, the quicker that your legs begin to feel stable, strong, and alive once more. Acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that physically orders your muscles to move, is going to be the subject of our next discussion as we move on to the second vital component of this equation, as well as the particular diet that refills it more quickly than the majority of supplements. You might want to consider giving the video a like if you found these ideas to be helpful. This not only helps us offer science-backed strength tools to more individuals who are in need of them, but it also ensures that the algorithm knows that this information is important. A signal is sent from your brain whenever you make a decision to move, whether it is to stand, to take a step, or to get up from a chair. On the other hand, that signal does not communicate directly with your muscles. In the beginning, it is converted into acetylcholine, which is a chemical messenger protein. Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter that is thought to be responsible for neuromuscular transmission. This is the specific method by which a signal in your brain is translated into action in your muscles. Without sufficient amounts of it, your muscles will not fire as they should. They fail to respond, misfire, or simply fail to respond at all. With each passing year, the significance of this fact grows. The production of acetylcholine and the sensitivity of its receptors both gradually decrease over time, according to studies, particularly in the motor neurons that are related to the legs. This is one of the reasons why even little lapses in balance or delayed muscular reaction become increasingly common in people who are approaching their senior years. The science, however, begins to get interesting at this point. It has been demonstrated through research that choline, which is the precursor to acetylcholine, has the ability to quickly restore this signaling capacity. It was emphasized in a review that was published in Nutrients in 2012 that increasing the amount of choline in one's diet can improve acetylcholine production in less than 6 to 12 hours, particularly when the brain is actively demanding motor coordination. What kind of food provides you this advantage? It's eggs. To be more specific, the yolks are the natural source of choline that is the most abundant. The consumption of just 2 whole eggs can provide more than 300 milligrams of choline, which is then transformed into acetylcholine and contributes to the restoration of the motor control pathway. This is not merely a well-known truth about nutrition. It is a protocol that works normally. In the event that you are someone who experiences tremors, instability, or decreased power when walking or standing, or if you have discovered that your legs are slow to respond, you should give this straightforward morning routine a try. Consume 2 whole eggs approximately 30 minutes after waking up, preferably in conjunction with a protein that is high in leucine, such as whey or cottage cheese. How come? Because acetylcholine synthesis tends to be naturally low after sleep. Motor neurons are more receptive to nutritional input in the morning, when acetylcholine synthesis is generally at its lowest. At the precise moment when it is most in need of it, you are providing your body with the raw material it requires to re-establish neuromuscular command. After eating a breakfast that is high in protein, have you ever noticed how much more confident you feel when using your steps? This is not a placebo at all. This is the result of your central nervous system firing with a greater degree of accuracy. There is more to choline than just supporting muscle. The communication channel between your brain and your legs is being upgraded as a result of this. Do not be concerned if you are a plant-based diet, or if you do not consume eggs. For additional sources of choline, quinoa, Brussels sprouts, and soybeans are also good options. In contrast, egg yolks have the maximum bioavailability, which refers to how well your body is able to absorb and metabolize the substance. One further thing to note is that acetylcholine is not only responsible for activating muscles. However, it also plays a significant role in learning, memory, and concentration. Consequently, when you restore the levels of acetylcholine in your brain, you are enhancing both your physical control and your cognitive clarity, which is a double win for aging positively. The following section will focus on another important link in this chain, which is the relationship between blood flow and leg strength. Additionally, we will discuss a food that improves circulation to such an extent that it is currently being researched as a potential natural treatment for vascular dementia and performance weariness. Please click the subscribe button if you are dedicated to restoring your strength and clarity. Even though we are only getting started, each segment builds on the previous one by providing you with tools that are designed to operate in your everyday life. Beginning right now. Just picture yourself attempting to cultivate a garden while the hose that supplies water is kinked. It makes no difference how fertile the soil is or how much sunlight you give the plants. They will not flourish. On the interior of your muscles, particularly in your legs, this is exactly what takes place. As we get older, the arteries and capillaries that supply our lower limbs frequently get more constricted and less responsive. This occurs not only when blood flow becomes restricted or inefficient, but also for other reasons. This hinders the delivery of oxygen, the transportation of nutrients, and the removal of waste, which are three essential components of muscular function and recovery. What is the end result? Leg pain that is characterized by a heavy, fatigued, or delayed response. Even if you consume a suitable amount of protein and engage in physical activity, poor circulation can subtly undermine your strength. Nitric oxide, also known as NO, is the primary molecule that controls the dilation of blood vessels. In your endothelial cells, which are the cells that line your blood arteries, there is a gas that is created naturally. This gas communicates with your blood vessels, telling them when to widen and enable more blood to flow through them. Beets are one of the most potent natural boosters, and it is amazing to learn that the creation of nitric oxide is strongly reliant on the foods that you consume. Beets, particularly when consumed raw or in juice form, are a source of dietary nitrates, which are converted into nitric oxide by your body. According to the findings of a study that was conducted in 2015 and published in the Journal of Applied Physiology, older persons who ingested beetroot juice had a considerable boost in leg muscular power within just a few hours of consumption. This gain was particularly noticeable in fast-twitch fibers, which are critical for maintaining balance and preventing falls. There is no such thing as a marginal gain. In real-world movement testing, walking speed tests, chair stand tests, and even stair climbing, the benefits were significant enough to be measurable. Here is a straightforward instrument that you can make use of. Approximately 90 minutes before engaging in any kind of physical exercise, consume 1 to 2 medium-sized beets or drink 250 to 300 milliliters of beetroot juice. Because of this, the nitrates have the opportunity to transition into nitric oxide and start the process of increasing vasodilation. Want to take it to the next level? This should be combined with 20 minutes of light action, such as going for a stroll, light cycling, or dynamic stretching. Movement itself is a powerful stimulant of nitric oxide generation, particularly in situations where your body is already saturated with dietary nitrates. Imagine that you are ramping up the pressure and priming the hose at the same time. The glycemic load of beets is relatively modest, and the performance benefit much overcomes any spike that may occur when they are ingested before activity. However, there are some people who are concerned about the sugar content of beets. You might also try a source of protein or some greens that are high in fiber to help you cope with this. When you discover that this knowledge is helpful to you, you should think about subscribing. Rather than trying to overwhelm you, we go deeply into evidence-based techniques, such as this one, in order to equip you. Every video is intended to convey scientific information. You can start using it right now to experience a sense of increased strength, sharpness, and control over your body. In the following part, we will discuss inflammation, which is one of the most misunderstood aspects of muscle loss, as well as how a single food category can put out the persistent low-grade fire that is reducing your leg strength from the inside out. Even while you might not be able to feel it, it is present, like a low and consistent hum in the background. Persistent inflammation is what I'm referring to here. Chronic inflammation is not the same as acute inflammation, which is evident and happens after an injury. Chronic inflammation is subtle and systemic, and it gradually declines muscle function over time, particularly in the legs. The findings of the research are as follows. It is possible for even low levels of chronic inflammation to cause a reduction in the capacity of muscles to regenerate, gain strength, and improve coordination. In a study that was conducted in 2020 and published in the Journals of Gerontology, it was discovered that increased levels of inflammatory markers specifically C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6, were strongly associated with decreased muscle mass and strength in older adults. This was the case even when the participants' levels of physical activity and nutrition appeared to be adequate. So, what will be going on inside of your body when this takes place? Inflammation impairs the function of mitochondria, which are the very engines that fuel your muscle contractions, by interfering with the process of muscle protein synthesis, increasing oxidative stress, and disrupting mitochondrial function. In addition to this, it hinders the capacity of your neurological system to effectively recruit muscle fibers, which means that even if the muscle is present, the signal that is supposed to activate it becomes less powerful. At this point, we come to the surprise portion. It is not in the supplement section that we find one of the most effective tools that we have at our disposal for putting out this ongoing fire. In your produce drawer is where you will find it. Dark leafy greens are now available. Spinach, kale, arugula, chard, and mustard greens are some examples of greens. In addition to being rich in nutrients, these are also tremendously effective in reducing inflammation. They require high concentrations of polyphenols, chlorophyll, magnesium, and nitrate components, all of which are known to support the capacity of your body to down-regulate inflammatory pathways. More specifically, it has been demonstrated that the polyphenol quercetin, which may be found in mustard greens and kale, has the ability to directly block inflammatory cytokines such as IL-6 and TNF-alpha. According to a study that was published in Frontiers in Pharmacology in 2019, it was shown that consuming foods that are rich in quercetin on a daily basis can lower inflammation markers within 2 to 4 weeks, particularly when accompanied with moderate exercise. Incorporating at least 1 cup of dark leafy greens into your first meal of the day is a straightforward regimen that is supported by abundant scientific evidence. Why is this the first meal? Mainly due to the fact that it assists in establishing the foundation for the regulation of inflammation throughout your circadian rhythm, which is the internal clock that controls the immunological and hormonal responses. If you want to improve your body's ability to absorb fat-soluble antioxidants like vitamin K and beta-carotene, try combining them with a source of healthy fat like olive oil or avocado. Additionally, you could try adding a squeeze of lemon or apple cider vinegar to improve digestion and the amount of nutrients that you take in. Now, it is important to point out that these foods do not have the same effect as painkillers. There is a possibility that you will have less discomfort, faster recuperation, more stable energy, and a rejuvenated feeling of power in your legs over the course of time, which may take as little as 10 to 14 days. However, you will not feel the benefit immediately. It is at this point that nutrition transforms from being a source of fuel into a signal that regulates the body. It lets your immune system know that we are safe and that you can turn off the power. In the following section, we will discuss something that the majority of people completely ignore: the way in which the time of your meals can either speed up or slow down the restorative process of your muscles and leg strength, particularly as you get older. The food you consume is simply one aspect of the equation when it comes to restoring strength in your legs. The timing of your meals may be just as significant, particularly as we become older. It is important to understand that whenever you take a meal that contains protein, you set off a process that is referred to as muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. It is through this biological process that your body is able to heal damaged muscle tissue and develop new muscle tissue. To put it simply, your body is essentially saying, "Let's grow." The difficulty, however, is that as we become older, the strength of that signal decreases. Because of a process known as anabolic resistance, which occurs when your muscles become less receptive to the protein that you consume in your diet, this is the case. It is possible that your body will not be able to fully utilize the protein that you consume in order to repair muscle, even if you consume an adequate amount of protein overall. Now, what is the solution? The findings of the research are as follows. The preservation and growth of muscle, particularly in the legs and lower body, can be considerably improved by distributing protein-rich meals equally throughout the day, beginning with breakfast. According to the findings of a study conducted by the University of Texas in 2014, those who had nearly equivalent amounts of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner had muscle protein synthesis rates that were 25% greater than those individuals who took the majority of their protein at supper. How come? As a result of the fact that each meal served as a distinct stimulus for muscle growth, the signal remained strong consistently throughout the day. Additionally, eating within 30 to 60 minutes of light exercise or walking can improve this effect, particularly in older persons. This is especially true for those who have been exercising. When your muscle cells are at their most receptive to nutrition and are able to rapidly take in amino acids for the purpose of rebuilding tissue, this period of time is referred to as the anabolic window. This is a straightforward and applicable protocol. First things first. Be sure that your first meal of the day has at least 30 grams of high-quality protein. A cup of Greek yogurt topped with hemp seeds and berries, or 3 eggs topped with sautéed spinach and lentils may be an example of what that might look like. After completing any kind of physical activity, whether it be a stroll, a stretch session, or some mild resistance training, the second step is to consume a meal or snack that contains both protein and complex carbohydrates within an hour. Some examples of these are a smoothie made with protein powder and banana, as well as a plate consisting of quinoa, beans, and olive oil. Carbohydrates stimulate insulin, a hormone that works to improve nutritional intake, which in turn helps to improve the